Today's material comes directly from Dr. G.S. Raju's YouTube.
And it is a fascinating, if maybe a slightly graphic journey into the past.
It really is. Usually on these deep dives, we're looking forward. We're talking about AI diagnostics or the latest gene therapy.
Right. Always what's next.
Exactly. We're obsessed with the new. But today, we're doing something, well, completely different. We're hitting pause, turning around, and looking backward.
We're doing a bit of what you like to call medical archaeology.
I do. I love that term because it really feels like that's something.
Medical archaeology.
Yeah.
It implies you're digging for ruins or uncovering lost civilization.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Because doctors today who are trained on all this high-tech stuff sometimes have to navigate these landscapes inside the human body that were carved out decades ago. It's like finding an ancient structure inside a modern city.
That is a very vivid way to put it, and an accurate one. We're talking about the physical legacy of medical history.
Yeah.
The things that were done to patients 20, 30, even 40 years ago, which are still sitting there, inside them, right now.
And the specific artifact we are dusting off today is a surgical procedure called the Billroth eye gastrectomy.
A true classic of abdominal surgery.
Now, I'll be honest, Billroth eye gastrectomy sounds incredibly technical.
It does.
Like something from a textbook you use as a doorstop.
Ugh.
But the mission for this deep dive is actually pretty straightforward. We want to visualize how this surgery changes the anatomy.
Okay.
We want to understand why on earth doctors were doing this replumbing back in the day.
Yes.
And most importantly, why knowing this layout is absolutely crucial for a modern doctor.
Right. Because if you don't realize the map has been changed, you're going to get lost. And in the human body, getting lost can be dangerous.
So let's unpack this. I am so curious about how you replumb a stomach, but before we get the scalpel out, we have to talk about the why.
We do. We have to go back to an era that, in the grand scheme of things, wasn't that long ago. We're talking late 20th century. But in terms of pharmacology, it feels like the Stone Age.
We take so much for granted now. The material mentions a world before H2 blockers and before proton pump inhibitors.
Or PPIs, as we call them. Think of, brand names like Prilosec or Nexium.
The stuff you can get at the drugstore now if you ate too much pizza.
Exactly. Today, those are the first line of defense. They're chemical switches that just turn off the acid production in your stomach. But back then,
No switches.
those switches didn't exist. You couldn't just suppress the acid with a pill.
And the source also says this was before treatment for Helicobacter pylori was available.
And that's the other piece of the puzzle. H. pylori is the bacteria that we now know causes the vast majority of stomach ulcers.
So today you just take some antibiotics, kill the bug, and the ulcer heals.
Simple. But back then, the link wasn't fully understood, or at least the treatments weren't established.
So paint the picture for me. I'm a patient in, say, 1975. I have high acid. I have this bacteria eating away at my stomach lining, and there are no pills to stop it. What's my reality?
You are likely suffering from intractable gastric ulcers. And we're not talking about a little heartburn. We are talking deep, eroding sores in the stomach wall.
Wow.
They cause bleeding, immense pain, and could even burn a hole right through the organ.
And since doctors couldn't treat it chemically,
They had to treat it mechanically. If the factory is producing toxic sludge and you can't turn off the machines, you dismantle the factory.
that's a wild concept.
Yeah.
The solution was to physically remove the part of the organ causing the problem.
It was the definitive way to handle it. Most patients with severe gastric ulcers underwent a Billroth eye gastrectomy. It was the gold standard.
Most patients. That really stands out. This wasn't some fringe procedure.
No, it was what you did. You cut out the ulcer.
But obviously that's changed. We had the pills now. So is anyone still getting the surgery?
Nowadays, it is rarely performed for benign ulcers. We just have better ways.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
But here's where it gets really interesting for me. If nobody's getting this done anymore, why are we talking about it? Why does a young doctor today need to know about a phased-out procedure?
And this is where that medical archaeology idea comes right back in. Just because we stopped building these structures doesn't mean they aren't still standing. You have the legacy patient.
A legacy patient, I like that.
These are people walking around today, living their lives, who had this surgery 30 or 40 years ago. And they might come into the hospital for a totally unrelated reason.
A routine checkup or something new.
Right. And when the doctor looks inside with an endoscope, a camera, Their insides don't look like the textbook.
The geography is different.
And they need to know what they're looking at. They have to recognize that Billroth anatomy, or they risk misinterpreting the entire landscape.
Okay, so let's map that landscape. Let's get into the anatomy class part of this. To understand what's different, we first need to establish what normal looks like.
Let's do it. So imagine the standard roadmap of the upper digestive system.
Okay, picturing it. We start at the top.
You have the esophagus, the food pipe,
Simple enough? That dumps into the stomach?
the reservoir. Now, the stomach isn't just a simple bag. It has parts. The upper part, the body, and then it curves down into the antrum.
The antrum. That's the bottom part.
Exactly. It's the muscular grinder at the bottom of the stomach that pushes food toward the exit.
And the exit leads to?
The duodenum, the very first section of the small intestine.
And hanging around in that neighborhood, you've got some important neighbors, right?
Little neighbors. You have the pancreas, the bile duct, the pancreatic duct. They all connect right there in the duodenum.
So the standard assembly line is esophagus, stomach, antrum, duodenum.
All connected in a nice, logical, continuous line.
Correct.
Okay, now enter the surgeon. It's 1980. They're performing a Billroth I. What exactly are they taking out?
They're performing a distal resection. Distal means the part furthest away from the start.
So they're removing the distal portion of the stomach.
So they're cutting off the bottom of the J shape.
Precisely. They remove the antrum and usually the pylorus, which is that valve between the stomach and the intestine. That's where the ulcers were.
Okay, so now I'm picturing a shortened stomach. It's like a cropped shirt. You've got the upper stomach hanging there and the duodenum down below with this massive gap in between.
And that is the critical moment. You've disrupted the continuity. You have a gap.
So how do you bridge that gap? Do you? I don't know, pull the intestine up.
You do. You use the natural elasticity of the tissues. In a Billroth I, the reconstruction is very specific. The duodenum is anastomosed to the remaining end of the stomach.
Anastomosed. I love that word, but let's break it down.
It's just medical speak for connected. It's a surgical connection between two structures. They basically pull the cut end of the duodenum up and stitch it directly to the cut end of the stomach.
So they just reconnect the pipes.
Essentially, yes. They delete the middle section, the bad part, and sew the two ends together. The technical term for this new junction is the gastroduodenal anastomosis.
Gastro for stomach, duodenal for the intestine. A stomach-intestine connection.
Simple and descriptive?
So,
Yeah.
visually, we've basically just shortened the commute, we took out the bad neighborhood in the middle, and paved a road straight from the entrance to the exit.
That's a very functional way to see it. And what's so fascinating is what that means for the flow of food after the surgery.
Right, because the plumbing still has to work.
And it does. In a Billroth I, the food goes down the esophagus into the smaller stomach remnant.
The smaller stomach, right.
And from there, it goes directly through that new connection, the anastomosis, into the duodenum.
Wait a second. Esophagus, stomach, duodenum? That sounds exactly like the normal order.
It is the normal order, and that is the brilliance and the convenience of the Billroth I. It preserves the physiological sequence.
The order of operations hasn't changed, even though some of the machinery has been taken out.
Exactly. And this brings us to the most important practical application for a doctor today. We have to talk about the ERCP.
ERCP. Okay, another acronym. Endoscopic retrograde cholangiopancreatography.
It's a mouthful.
It is a mouthful.
But it's a life-saving procedure. Basically, it's when a doctor uses a scoper, a long, flexible camera, to fix problems in the bile ducts or pancreatic ducts.
So like if you have a gallstone stuck in a duct or something.
Exactly that, or a tumor blocking things up. To fix it, the doctor has to drive that scope down the throat, through the stomach, and find this tiny little opening in the wall of the duodenum where those ducts empty out.
Okay. So I'm the doctor. I'm holding the scope. I have a patient on the table who I know had a Billroth eye back in 1982. Why is this specific surgery good news for me?
Because you don't have to worry about a detour.
A detour.
In some other gastric surgeries, the anatomy is rearranged so drastically that finding that opening is a nightmare. You have to go down different loops of intestine. Sometimes you're driving backward. It's technically very, very difficult.
But with the Billroth IV,
you can follow the regular path. The roadmap hasn't been destroyed. It's just been shortened.
It's like, okay, imagine you drive to work every day, and one day the city removes a 3-mile stretch of the highway and just connects the two ends. The drive is shorter, but you don't have to learn a new route.
Perfect analogy. You don't have to turn left where you used to go straight. You just keep going.
So let's walk through it. I I want to feel what the doctor feels driving the scope.
Okay, you're in the driver's seat.
I go down the esophagus.
I entered entry.
I enter the stomach. Now, usually I'd see a big J-shaped organ. What do I see here?
You see a smaller space. The distal portion is gone, so the room is smaller. And straight ahead, instead of a natural valve, you see a surgical scar, a ring of tissue.
The anastomosis.
That's it.
Oh.
It might look a little different, maybe a bit more rigid, but it's an opening. You steer your scope right through the center of that ring.
And once I pop through that ring, where am I?
You are immediately in the duodenum.
In the target I'm looking for.
The ampulla of Vater. That's the fancy name for the opening of the bile duct.
The ampulla of Vater. It sounds like a villain in a sci-fi movie.
It does, doesn't it? But it's actually the prize. It's what you're looking for. And because of the Billroth eye anatomy, that ampulla is sitting right there in a totally standard position.
So I can just get to it.
You can get to it. You can cannulate it, slide a wire into it, just like you would in a patient who never had surgery.
So for the doctor, the realization, oh, this is a Billroth eye, means they can kind of take a breath and relax.
It means they can evaluate the bile duct as if the anatomy has not been altered that much. It lowers the stress level of the procedure significantly.
I really appreciate that phrasing. As if the anatomy has not been altered much. It's a real testament to the elegance of what those surgeons were doing.
It was. It was a destructive surgery, you're removing part of an organ, but it was reconstructive in a way that respected the body's original design.
Now, you hinted at something there. You said it lowers the stress significantly, which implies that other versions of this surgery do not.
Well, there is a reason we specify Billroth 1.
Because there's a Billroth 2.
Exactly. And usually when you see a tuck in surgery, it means things have gotten more complex.
The sequel is always messier.
In this case, yes. We aren't deep diving into the Billroth II today, but it's important to know the difference exists. In a Billroth II, maybe the gap is too big. They can't just stitch the stomach to the duodenum, so they have to create a more complex detour.
Oh, so that breaks the straight line rule.
Completely breaks it. It creates blind loops and confusing corners. So recognizing the difference between an eye and a TUH is absolutely critical. If you see that direct connection stomach to duodenum, you know you're safe.
You know it's a Billroth assessed.
And that's really what it all comes down to, isn't it? Recognition.
It's not about knowing how to perform a Billroth eye, because a modern doctor probably never will.
Highly unlikely.
It's about being a detective. It's about entering the stomach with a camera and saying, the distal portion is missing, but I see a direct opening into the duodenum. I know what happened here. Someone was here in 1982.
Exactly. You are reading the history written on the walls of the stomach.
And that recognition changes your whole strategy. It tells you, I can proceed with this ERCP normally.
It prevents you from getting disoriented. It stops you from looking for parts that aren't there anymore or getting confused by the scarring.
It connects the lack of medicines in the past, that stone age of pharmacology, to the actual physical reality of the patient on the table today.
It's a powerful reminder that medicine is cumulative. We don't just erase the past, we build on top of it.
Yeah.
Even though we've moved on to PPIs and antibiotics for H. pylori, the physical record of those old treatments is still walking around.
It really makes you think about what future doctors will find in us, doesn't it? I mean, we think we're at the pinnacle of modern medicine right now.
We always think that.
But 50 years from now, some medical podcaster is going to be looking at our procedures and calling them archaeology.
Can you believe they use chemotherapy?
Yeah.
Can you believe they use metal screws in bone?
Exactly. What artifacts are we leaving behind that will guide a doctor in 2070?
That is a profound thought. Every generation of medicine leaves its mark. For the Billroth eye generation, it's a shortened stomach and a very convenient direct connection to the duodenum.
A convenient connection. I like that. It's a nice little gift from the past to the future.
A roadmap that still works, even decades later.
Well, we have traveled down the esophagus, through the renovated stomach, and right out into the duodenum. We've explored the legacy of gastric ulcers and this surgical solution that, while rare today, is still a critical piece of knowledge.
It's a great reminder that in medicine, history isn't just in books. It's inside the patients.
Absolutely. And that's where we'll leave it for this deep dive. A huge thank you to the source that made this journey possible, Dr. G.S. Rogers' YouTube.
A fascinating resource.
Thanks for listening. We'll catch you on the next one.